What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What is going on, people? How we doing? I hope everybody had an awesome day today. It's been good. It's been good. It's been good. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. I hope everybody else has had an awesome day. I had a good day today. A little tired, but we can get through it. We can get by. No problem, no problem. Yes, it is Thursday. It is a Thursday. I decided to jump down here. I called myself going and buy some different lighting because I hate this side of this thing. And I don't know what the deal is. And I put all these panels up, and I went out tonight, and I bought some different lighting, and it's not working the way I thought it was going to work. So, anyway, hold on. It's kind of really not working the way I thought. But it is what it is, I guess. How's it going, people? We had a little dust up last night. Had a little dust up last night. A lot of information that was going out that just wasn't true, didn't happen, and I'm still waiting for that confirmed situation where, they said this pregnant lady. I'm waiting on that. I haven't heard anything on that just yet. But apparently, there was a traffic stop. My understanding, if someone heard something different, please, ma'am and sir, let me know. I can easily erase anything that I've heard, what I've gotten. Some of you know I was literally down on ground zero today. I did run into a couple of people that I did talk to. Got interviewed by some cat with I don't know what the newspaper was from, but got interviewed by him today while I was down there. But apparently, this whole thing stopped from a traffic stop, I guess, and the guy ran up into North Minneapolis, and everything, went haywire from there, and everybody was out screaming and yelling, and they was shooting off gas canisters and all that there. But what I thought was very, very interesting is the point that here is a militarized unit that goes into an area of unarmed people. And what gets me about this whole thing is something that we in the black community already knew, right? And another reason why I'm glad a lot of this stuff is playing out. It's like I said before, this is not new to us. The only difference now is y'all get to see this stuff for yourselves because it's being recorded. It's no different than back in the day in the 60s. Before it came on TV, they were sicking the dogs on us. They were shooting us with water hoses. And everybody was like, that's not happening. And all of a sudden, boom, it's on TV. And everybody's like, oh, that's not right. Same thing with the black folks. This stuff was happening in our community. The jump out boys were real. The gang task forces were real. Getting stopped in the middle of the street for nothing was real. Police brutality was real. There's a reason that the DOJ said what they said in the report of the Minneapolis Police Department. If you have never read the DOJ report, you need to read that, and then you will understand what's going on now. So that's why a lot of black folks are sitting here going, we've seen this before. It's just like it's like with the quote unquote riots that they're having right now. The difference is there's no bricks being delivered to corners like there was with George Floyd. All of a sudden, right in the middle of a city, there's a pallet of bricks and nothing is being built anywhere. You're going, what are they building around here? But for some reason, there's bricks sitting there. A pallet of freshly cut wood. You're going, in a city, why would you need wood? Chopped, nice, freshly cut wood in a city. Why would there be pallets of freshly cut wood in the city? That didn't make any sense, right? To some people, that didn't make any sense. But to us, we knew exactly what that meant. Somebody planted that there. Period, point blank, people. Period. You have no construction nowhere. All of a sudden, everybody's coming up with all these. Where is all these rocks coming from? All of this stuff. How is it that people have this many literally frozen bottles of water, like this here, these here, frozen bottles? How in the world? Think about this for a second. How in the world are you got that many frozen bottles already? People, this stuff, if y'all think that your government isn't behind a lot of this stuff that's going on, you crazy. This is what I keep telling y'all. I'm going to say it again tonight. I know y'all tired of me saying it, but let me say it again. Because we get so tied up into our government, whether you're a red pill or blue pill, you don't think your government would ever do something like that. Oh, no, my government would never sell cocaine let cocaine come into their country. No. My government will never push crack into certain communities. That would never happen. Never happen. Really? Really? So, make me understand. Somebody out there right now, make me understand. Because I know right-wingers, they don't like to touch things like this. They like all other type of conspiracy theories. You do. Y'all can come up with some stuff that's completely the pizza thing. Had a man going over there killing people because you had a theory. I got one for you. See if you can figure it out. Here's a group of guys that outnumbered. Last night, there was so many agents out there. They outnumbered people in that crowd. Not only that, but the Minneapolis Police Department, few as they are, but they also showed up. But somehow, some way, think about this for a second. Okay? Again, if you're hanging out with me, you got to take the blue hat off and you got to take the red hat off. Because I want you to think. Because you can't. No, you can't. You can't think when you got them hats on. When you sit yourself in these coats, Jim Jones would be proud of some of y'all. But we're not doing that. So I need you to think about this for a second. You have all of these agents and all of these police, and they get ready to go. And you're going to tell me that they're going to forget two vehicles. There's two vehicles. Not only are they going to forget these two vehicles, but they're going to leave firearms in the vehicles that they forgot. No, I'm giving you a little time to think about that because I know it's going to take a minute. I didn't wake up yesterday. Because some of y'all are probably just taking those hats off. So I listen to what I'm saying. you got all of these military members. You want to call them military, you want to call them ICE, you want to call them agents, whatever you want to call them. I'm cool with it. But the people who drove, because usually they come 2 or 4 to a vehicle. There are 2 or 4. They don't ride by themselves. There's usually 2 or 4 in these vehicles. So you're telling me that 4 people completely forgot that they had a vehicle at this situation? That when it was time to go, they said to themselves, I'm just going to go get into another car. And the vehicle I drove there, I'm going to leave that over on the north side of Minneapolis. And no. And we're supposed to believe that they accidentally forgot these vehicles with weapons in these vehicles in North Minneapolis. We all know what North Minneapolis is. If you live here in Minnesota, you ain't stupid. If you're from Minnesota, you know what North Minneapolis is, of all places. You may not know any place else in the state. I don't care where you at. You could be up in Grand Rapids. You can be in Grand Rapids, but you know something about North Minneapolis. I guarantee it. I guarantee you can be in Wisconsin. You can be in Iowa, South Dakota, North Dakota. If you are around this state of Minnesota, you know North Minneapolis. So let's not sit there and try to act like we don't. But you got 2 vehicles that was left in North Minneapolis. Why? Why? Because the government wants something to pop off. They want it so bad. They're willing to set up their people to make it happen. They're willing to set up people to make this thing happen. And they put it where? In the blackest part of Minnesota. That's why I sit here and go, what happened last night? I don't even think that was even real. I don't think that's real. I think they came into the community. They roped the community off. They created a diversion, whatever they wanted to create, to get a bunch of people, hoping black people were going to come out, because that's where they was at. That they were in the black community last night. They just so happened. Hey, what's up, James? Right? Exactly, James. This is what I've been telling y'all. This thing ain't nowhere near ready to pop off yet. Why? Because black folks are going, we know what you're doing. We see what you're doing, and we understand what you're trying to do. I mean, hell, Trump went as far as to sit here and say, to try to piss black people off, something about the civil rights did something, made, hurt white people. And he thought that was going to piss us off, to get us out here on these streets. Start screaming and yelling. Because what he wants to do, because he's not going to do it until he gets black people out in these streets. And then he's going to throw, what is that Insurrection Act or whatever? But he can't do it right now. Why? Because black folks isn't on the streets. So what did they do last night? They planted crap in the black community. That's what they did. And those are facts. Because you can't make me understand how you're going to drive a vehicle to the worst part of the worst part of a state and forget okay, you know what? I'm going to give them, okay, let's say, if they drove the vehicles to North Minneapolis and they forgot one vehicle, I'm good. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I would. You got the benefit of the doubt. But you ain't going to sit here and make me believe you're going to forget two vehicles. There's no way in the world you're going to do that. And I don't care what right-wing nut job is going to sit here and try to talk like you did today when I put that out there. I can't believe you would sit there and quit. But make me understand that. Make me understand how you don't take two vehicles and both vehicles have weapons in them. So you know what this means? They have to find those weapons, correct? They have to find those weapons. And I'm not even going to sit here and act like that I don't believe that there's cameras in those vehicles. And whomever went in those vehicles, guess what? Their picture or their prints or something is on those vehicles. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to run the prints. They're going to run the facial recognition. And then what's going to happen? SWAT and everybody else is going to go tear them doors down to anybody that was in those cars. And it's funny, those cars just happen to be in the black community. So SWAT and everybody else is going to show up. They're going to go in these houses. They're going to rebel rouse and harass these people and pull them out of there. And black folks are going to get upset. They're going to get upset that ICE is back in that community. Not only in that community, but more than likely messing with black people. And then guess who's in the fight? Prove me wrong, people. No. Prove me wrong. This is your government. The government has used black people for as far back as I know I can remember. Ronald Reagan told Nancy Reagan to sit up front of the White House and say no drugs. And he helped sell crack. And this is after he closed all the facilities. All the facilities, Ronald Reagan closed them. Any facility that you can go to get help, mental help, addiction help, he closed them. And then what did he do? He flooded the black community with crack cocaine. Used that money, gave it to the Contras. Your government did that. And nobody paid the price except for Alan Webb. Gary Webb, the man who broke the story. You know, he quote unquote committed suicide, funny, with a shot to the back of the head. So on Facebook, I got people on Facebook mad at me too. Because I tweeted out this photo. And the photo was of the Republicans had some debate. And I'm looking at the room. And in this room, there's no people of color. None. Not only that, there's no young people either. None. And I'm sitting here going, the Republicans here are going back to their normal tactics. If they think old white people is going to put them in the office, okay. Because I think Amy Klobuchar, after what happened last night, I honestly I'm going to sit here and say it point blank, and I'll keep saying it. If Amy Klobuchar comes in and she was to announce, if she got behind a microphone right now and announced she was going to be running for governor, November is gone. Forget it. There is not There is not a Republican. That's why there's so many Republicans running, because the Republican Party itself isn't even hyped up about the people who are running. They're not. They're not. The Republican Party puts out Lisa DeMoth and Ryan Wilson. And then they do a straw poll, and Kendall Qualls win the straw poll. But the people they want to endorse, the Republican people are going, we don't want them, we want this guy. Someone that the black community dislikes like you would not believe. That's who the Republican Party wants to run. He won the straw poll. Good luck. I mean, don't blame me. What I'm telling you is true. Those are facts. That's a fact. Good luck. Good luck. If y'all think something is going to change here in Minnesota, when Lisa DeMoth and the Republican Party decide to pay that dude Nick Shirley to come in here and do what he did, it about to backfire. Like, if y'all think I'm joking, y'all have zero clue. I know, like I said, one of the things that I'm good at reading is what happens on the street, because that's where I'm at. And usually what happens on the street, just like the same thing with George Floyd. I said if they held the election right after George Floyd, right after they put Derek Chauvin in jail, I'm shocked any Republican even won anything around here. But that's how the Democrats got to trifecta. Angry people. These people are upset right now. They're upset. They may not be, like I said, they're not George Floyd angry. There's not. I've been in a lot of protests, like when Black Lives Matter, when Black Lives Matter protests for that white lady that got shot by the Somalian police officer. They were upset. People were upset. When we marched for Philando Castile, people was upset. Some people was angry. That's why they had to bring the gatekeepers in to calm everybody down. George Floyd was angry. And I don't think people understand who was not out in the streets. If you wasn't in the streets for George Floyd, you don't understand what I'm saying. There's a different cadence, there's a different walk, there's a different attitude, even when you look at each other, you know that's an angry person right there. And I'm an angry person, and we can just look at each other and we know that's what's George Floyd. Anger. The people now are upset. They're pissed off. But they're mad enough to say, we know what's going on here isn't right. We know that a kid that was going to Robbinsdale High School, you come get his daddy, and then you come back and you get him, and he's a senior. He been to the school for 4 years. He's a senior this year, and then you deport him. That makes people upset. That makes people in Duluth upset. That makes people in Rochester upset. That makes people in Hennepin County upset. And now they're over in St. Cloud messing with them people over there. That's about to make St. Cloud upset. So what else do the Republicans got? If the Democrats take Duluth, if they take Rochester, if they take Hennepin County, and then they turn around and they take St. Cloud, and then get a couple of these little spots like they usually do, it's over. check the map for yourself. Donald Trump lost Minnesota. Here, Tim Walz literally sat and let this place burn. And Donald Trump couldn't beat a man who let his state burn. Hello? And they ain't talking about the fraud around here. Ain't nobody talking about fraud. You know what they're talking about? They didn't even talk about, listen to this. Watch this here. Tim Walz, when he was running for governor, how many times did he mention a Republican who was running against him in this state? How many times? Take a guess. Because usually when you're running against, especially a Democrat running against a Republican, you throw mud at your opponent. Your Democratic Party goes after the Republicans. They ain't said a word about Letha DeMoss. They ain't said a word about Ryan Wilson. They ain't said a word about Kendall Qualls. They ain't said a word about Brad Collier. They ain't said nothing about Scott. They ain't said nothing about none of them. They have not mentioned them. A one iota. They don't need to. But you know what they do say? Donald Trump. The only place Donald Trump is loved in the state of Minnesota is outside of Duluth, outside of Rochester, outside of Hennepin County, and it's going to be outside of St. Cloud. And you know what that means? Any Republican that runs against Amy Klobuchar is going to get clobbered. Look at her record when she's won her seat, and look at the Republicans that she run against, and then look at how bad she beats them. I know y'all don't want to hear it. I know it. I know you don't want to hear it. But I'm telling you the flat truth. Y'all have zero clue what this has done to this state. Zero. Especially the people who are in some other state and you're watching this stuff online and you're cheering it. Especially when you got them knuckleheads, especially that knucklehead in Buffalo that's cheering this stuff on. Y'all have zero clue what's actually going on the ground. That's what's important. That's what's important. Because when you got that suburban white woman, and no matter what black women do, no matter how they vote, that suburban white woman here in Minnesota can tip the scales one way or another. And I'm going to tell you right now, that suburban white woman is all over the streets of Minneapolis today. So the choice is going to be simple. Which way is this suburban white woman who's been out on the streets, who's yelling at ICE, who's getting upset at ICE, who feels like she's this woman, that good woman that just got shot? She can see her in that woman, that white woman that they shot. That's her. She feels like they're her. So the question is going to be simple. Is she going to vote against her husband, or is she going to vote with her husband? Those are the choices that this suburban white woman has. The very ones that's out in the streets as we speak right now. And if I had to choose, if you told me, put money on one of these, Rev, which one would it be? And if I go off of my feeling, especially of old, the way things have shaken out and what I see and how things are going on, And knowing now, especially with a couple of black clergies that went down to not Somalia, but down to little Mogadishu, and they got together with the Somalians down there. If I had to guess, I think the Mexicans and the Latinos have woke up here, because we had a contingent who voted for Donald Trump. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I don't think the contingent that voted in the Somalian community for Donald Trump. I think a lot of the black men here in Minnesota who tried to use the Republicans to get the Democrats to okay reparations, I think they realized that they failed also, and their mindset didn't work. I think they're all looking at this whole situation, because a lot of them black men have friends who was jumped out by the jump out boys. A lot of those black men have friends that went through what these people are going through right now. If I had to choose today, right now, I don't see a Republican winning in Minnesota. I don't. It doesn't matter, because what people don't understand, you look at that Minnesota map and you see all of that red, right? I mean, you look at the Minnesota, all of that red you see. You gotta realize all the white people are spread out. And those are all white people pretty much. And all them red areas you see, all them white people that you see in these debates, that's them. And then you look at the street when they had the protests a couple of days ago, when thousands of Minnesotans was out on the streets. Dwarfs those red areas. The Republican Party here is in trouble. They don't want to tell you that. They want to act like they're strong, but they know it. They know it. They are in trouble. And instead of them going, hey, Rev, back in the day, when I did everything I possibly could do, when I was working with Scott Jensen and hoping Scott Jensen would take the mantle and be the one to come into the black community and help us out. When I got Walter Hudson and told Walter Hudson, let's go down to downtown, go down to North Minneapolis, and let's go down on Broadway, right? I went down there. Sure. Walter Hudson was down there. Mark Coran was down there. Elliot Ensign was down there. Pam was down there. I rode around with Pam, a state representative, a Republican state representative, showing her everything, all this type of stuff. But did they reach out to the black community like Walter Hudson said? They reached out to the Somali community? A community that if you wanted to be, you wanted them, you had to pay them? That's what Walter Hudson said. No, they didn't. No. Michelle Benson. And I love Michelle Benson. I hooked Michelle Benson up with one of the top leaders, black women leaders in the state, in North Minneapolis. I hooked her up with her, thinking that they was going to get together and Michelle would stay in touch with her and start doing things. Think that happened? It didn't. So when people say, so I can talk the shit that I talk because I walk the walk. I do this stuff. This isn't for play for me. And then the other day, a little birdie told me, see, here's another thing that cracks me up. People don't realize I know a lot of people. So when things happen in the community, more than likely it's going to get back to me. I understand Lisa Demuth, who is now a black woman. We didn't know she was black long time ago because she never did anything for the black community. She never came into the black community. But all of a sudden, I understand she came in and talked to Lisa. Oh, yeah, Lisa, I know. Lisa Demuth, I know you've been in the community. I know. Finally. I was told. You can't come in here. Y'all can't sneak in here without me knowing. So don't try it. But Lisa Demuth, a white/black woman, I put the white first because that's how she's been acting, I guess wanted to try to embrace some of her black side and sneak into the community and deal with someone that I know very well, and I work with her all the time. So she finally came in because she ain't never been in the black community. Lisa Demuth ain't done nothing for the black community. And that's why I thought it was funny how they rolled her out. So Lisa Demuth, they put Lisa out there and said she's running for governor, correct? And then a few days later, they made sure they put Ryan Wilson out there, the white man behind her. They had to, because she couldn't carry the weight by herself. So they had to ensure the white folks, those white people out in those red areas, oh, don't worry, but we got this white man that's going to be right there with her. They had to make sure that they made them feel good. That's why they rolled out Ryan Wilson so quick. So now the Republican Party, who don't know a damn thing about the black community, ain't never come to the black community, don't deal with the black community, they got to sell. Listen to me. True story. If she gets the nomination, and if Donald Trump, which she wants Donald Trump to endorse her, if she gets all of that, and she is their main ticket, the Republican Party has to sell a black woman to the black community. Listen to did you understand what I just said? The Republican Party has to try to sell this black woman who just came out of the closet of being black to the black community. Is that crazy or what? I'm not kidding. Those are facts, people. Those are facts. It's what they have to do. But wait a second. They put Ryan Wilson on there, hoping that would sell her too. See, because Ryan Wilson did. Ryan Wilson is probably the only one that listened. When I had a talk with him, he's the only one that came over to Shallow Church. Ryan Wilson was the only one, the only Republican that was running for some seat statewide in the state of Minnesota that year that came to the black community and sat down and talked with us. He was the only one. Jim Schultz, who was running for attorney general, the top cop in this state, would not come to the black community, would not do it. He would not, couldn't do it. The reason he couldn't do it is because his base, he knew he would lose some of his base if he came into the black community. He knew it. He knew it. Isn't that, James said, isn't that the same thing Republicans accuse Kamala Harris of doing? Selling herself to the blacks? Yeah. It's the same. Watch. It's the same thing. The same thing you heard the Republicans talking about with Kamala Harris. The Republicans here in the state of Minnesota has to do the same thing. The same thing that everybody was talking about. Well, Kamala Harris isn't black. Well, at least Lisa Demuth is black. She got some type of black heritage to her. Some. And the funny part about and another part of this story about the picture that I showed on Facebook, I put this picture out, and I asked the question, "What's missing?" And the picture, like I said, the picture was of a debate that the Republicans was having, and I said, "What's missing?" And everybody was like, "Blah blah this and blah blah that." And then this one person shows me a picture of some of the 4 black people that the Republicans have in their party. You got Lisa Dumas, you got Kendall Qualls, you got Walter Hudson, and then you got A.K. Kamara. And what do all of those 4 black people have in common? They're willing to sell their culture and who they are to assimilate with the Republican Party. See, you can't be a Reverend Christopher and be in the Republican Party. In order for me to be in this Republican Party and be the 5th black in the Republican Party here in Minnesota, I've got to completely kill everything about who I am. I can't be a black person in the Republican Party here in Minnesota. I can't be black. I got to be a Kendall Qualls black, sure. I've got to be a Lisa Dumas black. I got to be a Walter Hudson black. And I got to be a A.K. Kamara black. And you know what the problem with that is? I'm from the South. I'm a nigga. I'm a Negro through and through. You ain't going to get me to change. You ain't going to get me to act different. I ain't assimilating to a damn thing. Y'all can kiss my black ass. They don't want this type of black. See the difference? Now, if I want to tone this blackness down to their liking, then they'll let me in. But I ain't toning a damn thing down. I'm me, period, point blank. You got a choice. If you don't like me, kick your ass somewhere else and leave me the hell alone. But I ain't assimilating to nobody. I ain't kissing nobody ass to try to get in your little group. I did that one time. The Tea Party. And the Tea Party told me exactly what I knew. I was a black man. And no matter what I do, when I do it, how high I jump, how well I'm spoken, I can be spoken at times. My open, being this, being that, I'm still a black man. So no, I can't be a Kendall Qualls black. I can't be a Walter Hudson black. I can't be a A.K. Kamara black. And I can't be a Lisa Dumas black. I'm a Timmy Christopher black, straight out of Memphis, Tennessee, mud bottoms of Memphis, Tennessee. Grandfather marched for fairness. Bit by a dog because he marched for fairness. That's in my blood. Now, them other black folks that I just named, they ain't got no black culture. That's the problem. They got zero black culture. So it's easy for them to be fooled. It's easy for them to drop who they are as a person. And it's easy for them to leave their culture and not care about it. It's easy for them. I can't do that. Now, I'll listen to Van Halen. That's no problem. I listen to Poison all the time. David Lee Roth. Oh, I'm a big David Lee Roth fan. I'll do all of that. But then I got to have my Al Green. I got to have my Luther Vandross. I got to have my Teddy Pendergrass. See what I'm saying? I grew up in the New Jack Swing era. If y'all don't know what that is, look it up. That's probably the best era of music. For dance music, going out to clubs and partying in the backyard, you throw on something from Teddy Riley. Throw on something from Teddy Riley and Guy and the New Jack Swing. You play some Heavy D somewhere. I don't care what these sick sounding rappers sound today. This R&B hip hop crap they got today. You ain't never gonna sit here and tell me that if you throw on some EPMD, you throw on some Public Enemy, Eric B. and Rakim, will blow them out the door. That's me. That's me all day, bro. So if you ain't coming that way and you're a black person, I just got to overlook you. I just got to overlook you. But like I said, they do them, let me do me. And we good to go on that. But it's just funny to me. It's funny to me how certain people can get it in their head that other people don't deserve fairness. It's just like how you guys look at diversity. Y'all hate diversity. But make me understand this. So a little bit ago, I told you my grandfather marched for fairness in Memphis, Tennessee, when the black garbage men felt they was getting treated unfair. So make me understand this. So you got a black man and a white man. They're picking up the same garbage can, the same size, and the same amount of weight. Why is it that the white man should be paid more than the black man who's picking that garbage can up? But if the black man asks for the same pay for picking up the same garbage can, we got a problem with that. We don't want diversity. Is that not diversity? Help me out. Because that's what was happening. That's what happened. That's why my grandfather was bit by a dog. Because he said, if this man is making $10 an hour for picking up a garbage can that's just like mine, and I'm only making $5 an hour, should I not be paid the same? Yeah, man. That's why Martin Luther King, when the first protest is when my grandfather got bit by the dog in Memphis, Tennessee. And then the next two protests, you remember Martin came down. He didn't speak he only spoke at the church. And then that final one, because my grandfather was in the church with Martin when Martin spoke. And that final time Martin came down, James, that protest was going to be huge. That was going to be probably one of the biggest protests in the state of Tennessee. Because people were coming in, black people was coming in from everywhere for that and they shot and killed this black man because of what he was about to change in the state of Memphis, Tennessee. And you're going to tell me sitting here that was right. And you know the sad part about it is there's white folks right now listening to me will tell me that he died and that was okay. Because they didn't want to see things change. They don't want to see things change. There's white folks that was in that room of that picture of that debate out there in 2-bunk-2. I don't know where it's at. Old. And if you know, when you talk about old white people, you know what they lived through. You know how they thought and how they felt. You make me understand how it's fair that white kids got all the good books. But then when the white kids get the good books, all the bad books go to the black kids. Was that fair? No. We can talk about that. I know we don't like talking about this. And that's the reason why we're in the situation we're in now. Because white folks don't like talking about the past. They don't like talking about what happened back here. Oh, let's go forward. But see, the problem is we're going forward and all the pain, all the hurt, and everything that's wrong with the system that you don't want to fix, police brutality. The problem with the Republicans here in Minnesota, they can't say that. When that the Bell kid was shot, when the police officer Watch this. When the police officer jumped into the car, when the police officer put himself in danger, jumped into the car, shot and killed that black kid. And then they bust all them white people in from I don't know where to protest for that white cop. You know who had a shirt on? Walter Hudson. And I have zero. I'll talk to him, and I will always give Walter his flowers for what he's done for me. But I have zero respect for this dude. Zero. And then after watching him the other night on his little get up when he was explaining to Somalis and how, the Somalis wanted to do this and do that and wanted money and wanted positions and seats and all of this here type of stuff. Now I knew he was down there. I knew he was down there dealing with them, trying to deal with them. So I just sat back and I waited because I knew what was going to come out of it. Because the motto of the Republicans: pull yourself up by your bootstrap. How in the hell is the Republicans going to go down and help these people? Most of those people are poor. The Republicans here don't care about poor people. They can't even keep their druggies in their own districts. Why do you think Minneapolis is the way it is, people? Half the people who are down there. Listen, watch this here. Here's what I said to Mayor Fry. When all of these here Republicans around here always talking about, deport these people and deport these people. And I looked at Mayor Fry. I go, Mayor Fry, why don't you check all these homeless camps? Why don't you check to see where these people are from? No, I'm being dead serious. He thought I was joking. If they're from Buffalo, if they're from Clearwater, if they're from Annandale, if they're from Zimmerman, if they're from Plymouth, if they're from Maple Grove, any place but Minneapolis, put them on a bus and ship them back to where they're from. You would clear half of those camps down there. Because half the people who are down there in those camps, they're from red districts. Yes, they are. Those are facts. So Republicans can't even take care of their own needy. The ones who are. Here's another thing. Alpha News did a story on this, and they tried to make it sound like they were being mean. White people from red districts were literally coming into Minneapolis to the food shelves to get food. Alpha News did a story on this, but they did the story and saying like, oh, well, what, white people can't come in and get food? White people can't come in Minneapolis and get food? Why can't your ass stay out there in the red district and let the red districts take care of you? But you come to Minneapolis and you take their food. You come to Minneapolis and you cause trouble in Minneapolis. You're in the homeless camps, which raises everything up. No, stay out in your red district. Let your red districts take care of you. You know why you don't do that? Because they don't. Those are facts. Period, point blank. And I can tell you that for a fact because guess where I'm usually at? Especially during the summer. I'm giving sermons to the homeless camps, right? Am I not delivering water? Do I not feed the homeless camp? I take wood down there so they can make sure that they got wood and some everything. Socks, clothes, underwear, all of that stuff. Y'all help me get that. I take it to the homeless camp. I got friends in the homeless camps. I ask them where they're from. Why are they down there? I talk to them. I cue my Sunday morning sermons when I go to each homeless camp and preach at these homeless camps with my little mic and my stand. So I know these people. That's what I do. I'm not telling you something I don't know. There's never a reason for me to come on this thing and tell you something different. There's never a reason for me to come on here and lie to you about nothing. Nothing. That's the problem. You guys have been lied to so much. It's like I said, the George Floyd Square thing. Everybody swear to God, oh, this is North Minneapolis. Dude said George Floyd Square was North Minneapolis. And they got some asshole riding around there really slow at night so it can look eerie and creepy and scary. And they said it was North Minneapolis. They lie to you guys and y'all believe it. They do. They do. And just like the reason, like I said, one of the reasons I even went over north today was I wanted to make sure there was nobody was burning anything. There was nobody dead. There's no burnt out cars or burnt out houses or nothing. Y'all saw that. There was none of that. No fires. None of that stuff. So what's going to get very interesting, and if I was the Republican Party, I would try to get in front of this thing. And I'm going to tell you what I mean by this thing in a second. If I was the Republican Party, I would do everything I possibly can do to stop what's about to happen. If what I heard about Saturday is true, that we're going to have some neo-Nazi group come and march down Cedar Avenue, Lord, if you can stand in the way of this, if you can stand in the way of this, I'm begging you. We don't need that here in Minnesota. If a neo-Nazi group come here to Minnesota and they march down Cedar, because you have to go by Little Earth in that area where the indigenous people are. And then you go right into the Somali community. Listen, people, y'all listen. Y'all don't want this. I'm telling you, y'all don't want this. If Lisa Dumas, who put the wheels on this thing, and she did, and the Republican Party was smart, they would find out who is organizing this thing, and they will put a stop to it right now. They would tell them, don't come here. We don't need you here. We've done enough damage to ourselves. Because the last thing you need is for a group. It was bad enough that Nick, S-O-R-T-O-R, whatever his name, Nick, it's bad enough that punk was here. That low-down, dirty, loudmouth punk. And then they tore up his truck. It was bad enough he was here. But lo and behold, y'all don't want this. I'm just, listen, I know. So 3 Republicans went to Washington. How long I got? I got like 3 minutes. Think about this. 3 Republicans went to Washington. And this was supposed to be like a big deal. Like they were going to be big. This will be like the blow up of Minnesota. Have you heard anything about that? They didn't even put out their little snippets, because I knew they was going to put snippets out. I knew that was going to. I haven't seen nothing. I haven't seen nothing, and I haven't heard anything. It was like that was a wasted trip. They got paid, and they used taxpayers' dollars to fly them 3 out there to Washington for nothing. They could have done that from Zoom from their house. What they flew all the way to Washington for, they could have done it for Zoom at their house. There's no reason for them to go there and be yelling at people, but that's what they did, and nobody knows about it. This is how weak the Republican Party here is in Minnesota. Y'all, people who don't live here, y'all don't realize this. So I'm calling on the Republican Party of Minnesota. I'm calling on the Republican Party of Minnesota that if it's true that a neo-Nazi group is going to be marching down Cedar, I'm going to ask you, please, ma'am and sir, Lisa, this is your party. You're the head honcho. Mark Coran, Christy Robinson. Y'all need to get in front of this, and you need to stop it before it happens. You need to get in front of this, and you need to stop it before it happens, because when y'all went to Washington, all three of you, and they asked you about Melissa Hortman, and when you was a coward, yeah, you was, and you couldn't answer that question. You did that for your base. Don't let your base get you in trouble. Because you know how your base is. You know. If they could pick someone to run, they wouldn't pick the sensible person. They wouldn't pick the person that was in the middle. They go out and get a fool. That's what they're doing right now. But y'all need to get in front of this whole situation. If there is like I said, I just heard about it. So I'm not sure, but I suggest you, Republican Party, you got one day to get this thing fixed and figure it out. One day. Hey, James, the pillow guy is he's gonna be endorsed by Trump. I mean, Trump owes Mike his life. Mike gave up everything. Mike went broke for Donald Trump, correct? So Trump told Mike to run. Trump said, I will endorse you. And if Trump endorses Mike, then the base will get behind Mike. They have to. The GOP will have to get behind Mike the pillow guy if Trump endorses him. And Trump has to endorse this guy because this guy gave up his life. Mike Lindell gave up his life for Donald Trump to help to get Donald Trump elected. Donald Trump owes this guy. He does. He does. And what Donald has to do is he has to endorse Mike the Pillow Guy Lindell for the governorship of Minnesota. He has to. The question, James, will Donald Trump come here and endorse him? That's going to be the question. And if Donald Trump comes here to endorse him, I'm sitting here trying to think of the whitest place in Minnesota they can do that. Would they go to Sartell, or would they go to Albert Lee, or would they go to where do Walter Hudson live? St. Michael. They can go to St. Michael. They can go to St. Michael. No, the other nut, James, that other nut live in Buffalo. Oh yeah. No. There's black. No. I know black people. I know black people that live in Buffalo. That's why they get it. That's why they got a good basketball team. No, I'm just being serious. True story. So James, I know black people that actually live in Buffalo. So you can't go there. There's at least enough for a basketball team. Now Albertsville, St. Michael's Albertsville, what they got like 0.1% black people, or did they move out? The black people move out of there. So yeah, they would have to go to Albertsville to make the announcement for Mike Lindell. And I believe that's what they probably do. They'll probably go to Albertsville and make the announcement. No, seriously, look up Albertsville. See how many black people live in Albertsville. I told y'all how they do this thing. So a bunch of black people, Albertsville, St. Michael. True story. So a bunch of white people decided to leave downtown area and all that, their type of stuff. And then they moved out to Albertsville, St. Michael. And once they got out there, they did exactly the same thing that Prior Lake did. Once they got out to Prior Lake, they boosted these homes. You go out to Albertsville, $400,000 for a house. Black people can't pay $400,000, and they knew that. So instead of these covenants, which if you look through Minnesota history, Minnesota got a lot of covenants saying don't sell black people houses. True story. Look it up. Look it up. Look up the Jim Crow. What you need to watch is this Jim Crow North. Jim Crow North. That has to do with Minnesota. Seriously. Write it down, because once we get off of here, I want you guys to watch that. I want you to watch Jim Crow North. Oh, I know some black people live in Otsego too. So James, y'all got black people over there. But I don't know any black people that live in Albertsville, and I don't know no black people that live in St. Michael. None. And I've been up and down. I've been all through St. Michael's. I've been all through Albertsville. I ain't never seen a black person. Never. But so St. Michael's and Albertsville, them white people got out there and built themselves a community, right? And they said, well, we know how to keep those Negroes out. We'll just put these houses up for $500,000. Well, we can't afford it. We can't afford that. So there's no black people there. Those are facts. They couldn't use the covenants anymore. So that's what they used. They put high prices on these homes, and they knew black people can't live there. If you don't believe me, go ask black people here in Minnesota, why ain't you live in Albertsville? Why ain't you live in St. Michael? You don't believe me? Ask them. They'll tell you exactly why. James said, James a white dude. Look at that. James a white dude. And James can't even live there. That's what they did. That's why they put James. But they'll probably, James. No, hold on, Jay. Let me explain another thing to you, James. You probably don't know this. You said you can't afford to live there, but there are programs for you, James. Not me. Think about what I'm saying. There are programs for you, James, to be able to get one of those houses out there. You can sell your house, and you can go through some of these programs, James. Because they don't give me the same program you can get, James. We don't get those programs. It's like when we try to buy a building in our community, but yet an immigrant wants to buy the same building. Guess who gets that building? Exactly. So it's not just the white folks who do it to us. It isn't. He said, no one can afford the price up there, Rev. And I wouldn't want to live. I wouldn't want to live there either. You're right. I wouldn't want to live there either. We bought our house back in 2016 when the prices was low. There you go. We left. We had so my two boys moved out of the house. And my wife and I were sitting there going, okay, what are we going to do with this? because we're living it. So boom, the houses crash, right? When we was going through that crash and everything. And we was like, oh my God, let's get out of this before, the value of our house really go down. And so he was like, well, let's go get something small. It was just going to be us two. We didn't have a dog then. So we're out looking for a place, and then come to find out, some of the smaller places cost more because everybody was downsizing. Everybody was like, I got to get up from under this. Some of the smaller places cost more than the place we left. I'm like, oh my God. So we actually end up, we went from a medium thinking we were going to get a small to a large. Because people who was in these large houses, they was trying to get out of them. They was doing everything to get out of it. I mean, they was just taking loss after loss after loss. And foreclosures like crazy foreclosures. And I'm sitting there going, I'm not paying this much for a house that's smaller than what I just left. But then this house that's bigger than I just left costs less than the small one that I wanted. It was crazy the way things were. So that's the only reason, James, any other time, James, there's no way in the world I could be in the house that I'm in right now. There's no way in the world. If it was back to normal, never going to happen. It was never going to happen. But because of the prices and everything was going down and people literally was just leaving their homes, foreclosure, like crazy. Our property tax here, it's not that bad. I'm good. Yeah, John, I couldn't live up there where you're at, bro. I would love to, because I wanted to live in Big Lake. That's where I wanted to go. When we left where we were at now, I wanted to go to Big Lake. Because they out in Big Lake, they was like 5 acres. And plus I wanted to get a snowmobile, and a 4-wheeler. So I needed a lot of acreage, and I wanted to like now, get my grandson a motorcycle so he can ride it around the yard. So I wanted to go to Big Lake, but my wife worked down in downtown, and she didn't want to take the train back and forth to work every day. She wanted to keep driving. And that's the reason why we didn't move all the way out there. But if she would have agreed to take the train, which it's not even there anymore now, I would have been in Big Lake, dude. I would have been out there on my snowmobile, on my 4-wheeler, riding with my grandson in the snow on our motorcycles. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back home like I was when I grew up as a kid. When we was at my grandmother and my grandfather's house in Shelby County, Tennessee, on Garnett Road, where your closest neighbor was down the street. That's me. My wife's not like that. She's got to have people around her, like she's in a neighborhood. I want my closest neighbor to at least be 3 miles away. Just saying. So if I want to light off my fireworks, I can, and nobody bitch about it, right? If I'm standing out in my yard and I'm drinking me some sweet tea and whatever, and I'm ways away from the house, knowing I'm not gonna make it in there to go take a pee, right there in the yard, nobody bother you. I'm just saying, I'm a country boy. We had outhouses. I had to go to outhouse to use the bathroom, or go into the fields, wherever you're at. Doesn't matter. Y'all too proper. Anyway, let me get off this thing, man. I am getting off of this. I am not doing any. Tomorrow's Friday. My grandson is coming over. My second grandson is coming over on tomorrow. So I will not. That's why I jumped down here tonight. So I will not be with you all. I will probably more than likely be playing, that magnet game. I don't know if y'all got that, but we got this magnet game where you put the magnets down, and it's cool as all get up. So I play that with him all the time. So I'll be with my grandson on tomorrow. Again, I call out to any Republican that will see this. Any Republican that will see this, I call out to you and I say to you, please, ma'am and sir, do not let, if it's true that some neo-Nazi groups are going to be here in the state of Minnesota on Saturday, I'm begging you to please step forward and tell them no. We don't need that. We don't need that. Because I'm really waiting because y'all don't understand. When we talk about these Somali boys, I don't think y'all understand. And if these boys get into this situation, it's not going to be nice. So Republicans, do us all a favor. Stop doing stupid stuff. Anyway, what's going on, Frank? There's my boy. Hey, I'll talk to you about that later. But yeah, anyway, I'm done, people. I'm done. Matter of fact, I see Corey. Yeah, man, we got to stop that. We got to stop them groups before Saturday. And like you said, it is unacceptable. If that's true, we got to get it stopped, man. That we cannot have these people up in here doing what they do, acting the way they act, and treating Minnesota the way some people think it should be treated. I'm not down with it. I'm not having it. In the whole nine. You know what? I've got to get with Corey. Where's he at? All right, fam. I'm a bounce off of this thing. I appreciate you guys. More than likely, I will see you on Monday unless something else. I'll see you on Monday unless something else cracks off. If nothing else cracks off, then more than likely, I will see you on Monday. Sounds like a deal? Y'all have a good night. Peace out with you. And be good to each other. And smile at somebody so somebody smile back at you. Bye now.